Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees, please join us today in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 7, the Purāṇic literatures. Hare Kṛṣṇa, please join us for Jai Radha Madhav prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirye shautam swakatha Kṛṣṇa punya shama kirtanaha hridayam tasto bhadrani vidunoti suhasatam Nashtaprayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhakti nashtaki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto, Chapter 7, the Purāṇic Literatures, verse 1. Sūta uvaca Atharvavita sumantascha Shishyam adhyapayat swakam Samhitam soapi patyaya Veda darshaya choktavan. Sūta uvaca. Sūta Goswami said, Atharvavit, the expert knower of the Atharvaved, Sumantu, Cha, and Shishyam, to his disciple, Adhyapayat, instructed, Swakam, his own, Samhitam, collection, Saha, he, the disciple of Sumantu, Api, also, Patyaya, to Pathya, Veda Darshaya, to Veda Darsha, Cha, and Uktavan spoke. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Sūta Goswami said, Sumantu Rishi, the authority of the Atharvaved, taught his Samhita to his disciple Kabandha, who in turn spoke to Pathya and Veda Darsha. Purport, as confirmed in the Vishnu Purāṇa. Atharva Vedam cha munihi sumantur amitadhurtihi Shishyam atyapayam masa kabadham soapi cha dvidha Kritva tu Veda darshaya tathapatyaya dattavan. That sage Sumantu, whose brilliance was immeasurable, taught the Atharvaved to his disciple Kabandha. Kabandha in turn divided into two parts and passed them down to Veda Darsha and Pathya. Hare Krishna. Please join us in Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is again a very small chapter, and there is a very important aspect. This chapter, even though there appears to be many names and so forth, but the essence is what we are going to discuss today. We are going to study the essence as why this chapter, the Purāṇic literature aspect, has come, in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam was already complete, it was finished in the 5th chapter itself. And in the 6th chapter, we saw how Parikshit Maharaj, he was, he passes away after being bitten by the snake, and Takshaka, one of Kadru's sons. And so here, in this, and we also heard about how Janmejaya, the son of Parikshit Maharaj, he performed this great sacrifice where all the snakes were being pulled in. And since Takshak was a good friend of Indradev, he took shelter of Indradev. And since King Janmejaya did not see Takshak coming to the fire, being attracted in the fire, being burnt, he asked the Rishi Munis that why is he not coming? And they revealed that actually he's been protected by Indradev. And at that time, King Janmejaya said, please have Indradev also fall in the fire. So Indradev and Takshak, they fell from Indradev's plane. And at that time, Brihaspati, son of Angira Rishi, he came to the assembly of Janmejaya and enlightened King Janmejaya so that he gave up the thought of this fire sacrifice to annihilate all the Nagas, all the snakes in this world. And now this chapter is where Sutta Goswami, so last chapter also it was beginning with Sutta Goswami describing this. And here Sutta Goswami is describing based on the audience. And in the previous chapter he talked about, the four parts of Vedas and how they were delineated to different disciples of Srila Vyasadeva, who, wrote down. So previously Ved means knowledge. Knowledge was passed through hearing. That's why it's also called Shruti. Smriti is remembering. So there are other scriptures. And here, in this particular chapter, Sutta Goswami is elaborating on the Puranas. Why Puranas? That is a common question. Because he is revealing the great secret by which we can strengthen our spiritual progress as well as the potency. We can get the spiritual potency and the spiritual strength to engage in devotional service and achieve the goal of this life. In this Kali age, the symptoms we discuss, right? Prāṇa alpāyusha sabhya kalavasmin yuge janaha manda sumanda matyo manda bhagyehu pradattaha. Prāṇa alpayu. So men are short-lived. Sabhya. Kalavasmin. And they are constantly quarreling, right? Quarrelsome. So that's one of the characteristics of this age. And Manda means lazy. People are lazy. Sumanda matyo. Not very intelligent. Srila Prabhupada used to refer to this as poor font of knowledge. Right? So we are not very intelligent. That's the aspect because of the effect of Kali age. That doesn't mean we should stay ignorant. Rather, we should understand the characteristics, and once you know your enemy, you can be prepared to face your enemy. And the simple weapon, we have like even stronger than Brahmas. And what is that? Please join me in chanting. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This Maha Mantra that can completely destroy the effects of this Kali age. Right? And Manda Bhagya. People are unlucky in nature in Kali age. And Upradutta, and are constantly disturbed. So that is the nature. So not very intelligent, which means, we cannot have great philosophical discussions like in people in the past. Yet at the same time, in this age, we have great blessing. That Lord, He comes in three forms. He comes in the form as Srimad Bhagavatam, not different from Lord Shri Krishna. He appears in the Archa form so that we who are fallen can see Him, can serve Him, can develop that relationship with Him. And third, last but not the least, He is non-different from His name. So when we call out to the Lord, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Rāma, so again, we are directly calling out to the Lordship. We are directly having an interaction with Him. When we call out, Hey Govinda, Hey Gopal, so we are again, having that relationship. He is present. He is non-different from His name. When, the whole crowd chants, Shri Shri Bake Bihari Ki Jai, they are having that relationship. As the curtains open and close, at Bake Bihari temple in Vrindavan. So this is great jubilation we feel as devotees when we are directly calling out to the Lord's name. And in Brihad Naradya Purāṇa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reveals that this particular mantra is given, this secret has also been given especially for this Kali age. Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam, Hare Ranam eva kevalam, kala nashte eva nashte eva nashte gatiranyatha. So to remove the ill effects of this Kali age, all we have to do is take shelter of the holy name. And the repetition of 3 times introduces stress, that there is a great stress on this. When we say very, very good, so it's very good, it's okay, but very, very good, it's really good, So similarly, this is a great mantra to remove the effects of this Kali age. And there is no other way. Gatir anyatha. So there is no other way, no other way, no other way. So from that particular perspective, Puranas have been identified in this chapter. And the purpose is that they would remove the ill effects and this in this age. So more than the Vedas, Puranas are important. Why? Because we love stories, right? From childhood itself, when we were studying in our school, did you see any of the Hindi books or English books when they're talking about philosophy? No. They were all about moral stories. So we could understand the essence behind those stories. We could relate to it. And so I was going through a similar story and trying to understand what the essence is. Please tell me what the essence is, because I'm still trying to find the solution. So once it just so happens that a devotee, while chanting, doing his morning japa, sometimes we go on walk, right? So he was on his walk and suddenly he finds a lamp. But this is like that lamp, chirag. So he picks it up. It looks very much like the Aladdin's chirag. So he's like looking at it. He's like suddenly remembering, could it be Aladdin's chirag? So just as out of curiosity, he rubs, on the chirag. And lo behold, what happens? This purplish smoke comes out, and comes out a jinn. And this jinn is saying, please ask me 3 things and I will provide you the response. So now the devotee is like, what is he going to ask? It's spontaneous for him. He says, please make the whole world happy. This world as Vaikuntha, The jinn listens to this question. He is shocked, because this is the first time somebody is asking for others, not for himself. And he says, if I could make the whole world happy, why would I be hiding under the chirag, inside the chirag? I'm hiding under the chirag because there is so much anxiety outside, there is so much trouble outside. So the devotee is shocked. And because the jinn had revealed that he had been stuck in this chirag for 20,000 years. When he comes out, then he is revealing that the secret was that he was afraid of the world, all the unhappiness, all the disturbance, all the temporary nature, constant anxiety, and people, going against each other's throat. So he is shocked that he was hiding. And then he was saying, so how would you, it's such a small chirag, he's got such a giant body. And so the jinn, he reveals that, you can imagine, I was such a big body, I was inside this small chirag, and when you rub me, I get to stretch out myself, right? We hear in Srimad Bhagavatam that the baby in the womb of the mother is in such a difficult position. So that's the case of a small baby in mother's womb. Think of this giant jinn in this small chirag, which is like 6 inches big. He was stuck in that chirag for 20,000 years. So of course, after 20,000 years, somebody relieves him, he would feel very nice, stretching back to his original form. And then he says, but for 20,000 years, what do you do? Stuck in this chirag intentionally. So afraid of this material world. The devotee is surprised, so he asks this. And the jinn says, well, of course, I spend my time chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And after that, jinn says, now that I have satisfied your 3 wishes, your 3 inquiries, I'm going back in the chirag, and don't you rub me again and disturb my chanting. So of course, the devotee leaves the jinn as it is inside the chirag and leaves the chirag, which is the lamp, undisturbed. So what is the essence? Please write in the comments, what is the purpose? What is this jinn revealing in this conversation, in this story? Please share. Hare Krishna. So now, as we hear about Puranas, we love stories. When we hear stories, we try to relate to them. Sometimes we hear stories as matter of entertainment, right? We have watched Ramayana and Ram Leela so many times, So Ram Leela was very interesting because we were seeing as how a monkey is beating up all these demons, right? And these demons are representing all the anarthas. And monkeys like Hanumanji, Sugriv, so they are devotees. They are, the servants of Lord Ramchandra. They consider Lord Ramchandra to be their Lord of their body and soul, mind, body and words they are using in engaging in the service of Lord Ramchandra. Similarly, we see here Arjun is fighting at the battle of Kurukshetra, and he is carrying out the mission of annihilating, relieving the burden of the earth, which was the blessing that Lord Vasudeva Krishna had given to Mother, that don't worry, I will appear and I will relieve the burden of the earth. And Arjuna as a devotee is engaging in the same service, in serving Lord Krishna by killing the other Kshatriyas who were more like demons at times, many of them. So here in this chapter, we try to understand that by understanding Puranas, it gives us spiritual strength and our potency increases so that we can engage in devotional service. Now, when we engage in devotional service and attain the perfection, so what is the goal of life? To attain love of Godhead, right? And to attain love of Godhead, once we attain love of Godhead, then we enjoy, right? No. Our true enjoyment actually begins, but in service. So the service continues. And in service, we receive enjoyment. It is not being served that we take, we get transcendental bliss. So that is an important aspect. And the science of devotional service has already been revealed in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. Atha Shraddha Tadha Sadhu Sangha Tha Bhajana Kriya Tatha Nat Nivritti Sthat. So again, in the beginning there is some faith, right? Shraddha. Then, because of faith, we seek association of devotees. So when we have the right faith, we seek association of like-minded people. And so when we seek association of devotees, in the company of devotees, we understand the purpose of this life, who we are. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So we have this inquisitiveness. We are inquiring, who am I? What is the purpose of me being here? Why am I born here? Why is so much misery here? Why is such temporary nature there, that the only constant is change and transformation is the nature of this world? And to understand that, we have to understand who we are. And the first thing that is revealed to us is that we are living entities, Jiva. And then we want to know that if I am living entity and Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then what is my nature, my constitutional position? Then we come to know that my nature is Jivera Sarupoya Krishna Nityadas. Now when we talk about, this is all philosophy as it's going on. But when we say the same thing in story form, it looks even more attractive. So when we are in the association of devotees, we see, okay, we inquire, we take shelter of a pure devotee in disciplic succession. So we accept, in disciplic succession, shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. We approach the spiritual master and say, please, initiate me, please engage me. Initiation means starting. I want to get started in my journey. Till then, we are just, enjoying. That's like, when we are at a home and we have a plan to go to some place in the evening, kids are just playing around, running around, doing things. They have no purpose in doing things. They're just keeping themselves busy. So we are keeping themselves busy. And who's expert in keeping us busy? Maya Devi, the material energy. She knows how to keep us constantly in anxiety and constantly busy. She takes away all our time if we were to, not pay attention. So we suddenly wake up and we want to pay attention. And that's why in this chapter, it is described that Maya Devi, because of the three modes of material nature, has this effect of wakefulness, sleep, which is a dreamlike state, and then deep sleep where there is not even dream. We are constantly lost. So these are represented three modes of material nature and their effects. Sattva Guna, mode of goodness, causes us to wake up, wakefulness. So again, we are awake and we are seeing things that doesn't seem to be right, and what is the purpose, and we are making those inquiries. And then, before that, what was the state? is mode of passion. In mode of passion, we are in dreamlike state. We are making great plans. This is a great thing that I will do. This is how I will become the Lord of all things. This is how everyone will, glorify me. Seeking name, fame, and glory is in the mode of passion, and constantly engaging in economic development. So again, first one is religiosity. We understand that, we have dharma. And then this is earth, economic development. Then comes mode of ignorance, which is deep sleep, so not even dream. That is kama, right? Kama is more in the mode of passion, but it's actually, we are seeking to just being dull. And sleepiness, that's another aspect. So that state, we don't know what's what, and whatever we are doing, we think that that's all it is. So that is the state. That is also said to be the state of an ass who doesn't know, right, that it can get grass easily anywhere. Yet at the same time, it's a beast of burden. So in the mode of passion, we become beast of burden. And when we are frustrated and we give up, even that, we go down instead of going up at times. So that's about attitude. While some fortunate souls would rise above, they'll say, wait a minute, this being beast of burden is not working for me. What is the true purpose? Why am I suffering? Why am I not getting any satisfaction by working in this manner? So they wake up and they engage in, Atato Brahma Jigyasa, in this inquiry, who am I? Why am I here? And so forth. And they rise to the mode of goodness, Sattva Guna. And in mode of goodness, things are clean, right? And cleanliness is next to godliness. So here, after, devotee association, Adho Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha Tatha Bhajana Kriya. So after being initiated, the devotee engages in Bhajana Kriya. Now bhajan is a much bigger word than worship, right? So you can actually translate it to devotional service, bhaj. And puja or archana vidhi, that is worship. And that is one of the processes. And Srila Rupa Goswami gives 64 ways you can be doing bhaj. Prahlad Maharaj gives 9 ways. And then in the 11th canto, Shukdev Goswami adds 2 more, reading and writing. Because reading and writing is what's introduced in the Kali age. Prior ages, Shruti was enough. Hearing, they could remember for all their life. Just hearing once. They were so intelligent. So, from that perspective, we are engaging Bhajana Kriya. What is the effect of Bhajana Kriya? Anartha Nivrati. All the anarthas, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara, they are driven away from our heart. Right? So these anarthas are the ones that are causing dust on the mirror of our heart. And, Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives us Shiksha Ashtaka. The very first verse is Cheto Darpanamajanam. So we have to clean the mirror of our heart, Chetana, right? The mirror of our heart, the consciousness. So we have to awaken our consciousness and clean the mirror. And this cleaning of the mirror causes these anarthas, right? These are the anarthas who are covering this mirror. The various kind of inclinations because of innumerable time and millions of births that we have accumulated on our heart, all these anarthas. So they are cleansed away. And when they are driven away, Kama is lust, Krodha is anger, Lobh, greed, Mad, that's delusion. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh is attachment, and Matsara is envy or jealousy. So these 6 anarthas are driven away. And so we are engaging in Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya is driving away all these anarthas. And then we get Nishtha. So we start with small, faith, feeling towards the Lordship. But this becomes many-fold increases in the form of Nishtha. So faith becomes Nishtha. Just like, you go to a stock market and you engage, little amount, but you hope to win great amount. And this is a guaranteed way in science of devotional service that you come with little faith, but you get a lot of faith in the form of Nishtha. So Nishtha is greater faith, higher faith. And when you have this stronger faith, this Nishtha, then you develop ruchi. You develop interest in hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, you develop interest in reading Bhagavad Gita, you develop interest in hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita and the pastimes of the devotees of the Lord and the Lord's name, form, activities and pastimes. So all of you already have this ruchi, that interest in hearing about, right? And when you are hearing, after Nishtha comes ruchi, and from ruchi you come to asakti. Asakti is like you are in that attachment state. So asakti is where you become reliant on Lord's shelter. You are constantly seeking Lord's shelter. So you are more engaged with your own, understanding, and with the support of all the devotees who are around you, engaging in devotion service, bhajana kriya, and developing a greater faith, higher faith, and getting more attracted to hearing the name, form, activities, pastimes of the Lord, you fully start to become dependent, right? And when you start to become dependent and constantly seeking the shelter, you start to develop bhav, right? Your feelings, affection towards the Lord. So from attachment comes affection, and when this affection, bhav, grows and grows and grows and becomes really strong, it transforms into prem, love of Godhead. So there is a world of difference between love and lust, and this love is what helps us understand that when Lord Krishna is in the center and we all are working together to serve Him, that's love. When we are in the center and trying to serve the senses, then that's lust, simple. So what we see in Hollywood, Bollywood and so many other cinemas or movies, that is basically a reflection of lust. While love we see in the temples, where the devotees are glorifying the Lord. Everyone is looking at the Lord and helping each other in serving the Lord. So that bhaichara comes, right? That brotherhood comes, that feeling that we are all together serving the same Father, our Supreme Father, Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa and Mother Radha. And we also do this in the form of prayers, asking, because it's a privilege. You just don't get it as a right. Yeah, it is actually a privilege. Devotional service is a privilege. Bhajan Kriya is a privilege. So we have to pray for it. And how do you pray? Simply by raising your hand and chanting, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So now Puranas tell us stories. So we hear stories in Puranas. They are all stories and they are moral stories. And when we read these Puranas, they keep us very much engaged. In the earlier times, it was when in the first canto we were hearing that after the Vedas were split into 4 Vedas, these Puranas were entrusted, and Puranas were meant for the ladies and the Shudras. Now what is this distinction? Because sometimes in the scriptures, they refer to the men in the 4 classes, right? And Shudras have similar characteristic as people in this age. So we want to awaken our consciousness and rise above from that state to Brahman stage. And that we can do just by engaging in devotional service. Rather, we can transcend the 3 modes of material nature when we engage in devotional service, because devotional service is transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature, right? And there are 18 major Puranas. So that has been described. And Sutta Goswami, he is identifying that there's 10 subject matters in most of the major Puranas. So there are 18 major Puranas and 18 minor Puranas. And of these 18 major Puranas, each of the Purana talk about the 10 subject matters. And those 10 subjects they are talking about has already been revealed in the 2nd canto, 10th chapter, the very first verse. And who revealed this? Shukdev Goswami revealed this there. Atra sargo vitargascha sthanam paushanamutyaha manvantare shanukatha nirodho mukti. So he reveals that sarga. So that is the initial creation, the first creation of the universe, which is starting from, Pradhan being agitated by Kala, time, and Mahat Tattva appears, then manifest, and then from that the fall sequence 3 modes, and then from each of influence of the material nature, Sattva, Raja and Tamo, good mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. From all those 3 modes,
because of the influence of false ego, the different senses, sense objects, the demigods, they all appear. So that has been described in the second canto. So that is first creation. Now when Lord Brahma appears in this universe, and this universe is like andakar, it's like an eggshell. It has an eggshell, so it is like an eggshell. And in this, he starts secondary creation, visargascha, right? We also talked about the 4 kind of annihilations that happen constantly. And the 4th kind, which is liberation, is actually the true annihilation we are looking for. We are looking to liberate above, from the clutches of these 3 modes of material nature. Guna. Guna also means ropes. So we are all tied like puppets. And we are literally dancing, at the signal of material energy because of the influence of the modes of material nature. So we, this is the secondary creation, we are experiencing under Lord Brahma, where all the living entities, moving and non-moving entities are there. And the moving entities are, sustaining their livelihood on the non-moving entities. And then there are other descriptions as how those who don't have legs become the prey of those who have legs, and how the 4-legged animals and so forth, the different categories have been described in the previous chapters, in second canto as well. Here, Sutta Goswami, he doesn't want to repeat because he already discussed all of that. So he is trying to identify that the 10 subject matters are there. So he is describing, those 10 subject matters which are similar, in this sequence. So they are one-on-one mapping. And then Visarga, after Visarga comes Sthanam. It is the planetary systems, the various planetary systems, and now Poshanam is protection of the Lord. And we hear how in the case of Ajamil, he was protected by the Lord himself. When he called out for his son, what was his son's name? Please write in the comments. We called out his son's name twice. And so Yamdutas were already there. Vishnu Dutas appeared. And they said, oh, you cannot take this Ajamil. He has, performed penances for all his sins, not just of this life, for many millions of lives, because he called out the name of Narayan, Lord Vishnu. So he was protected there. He received second chance. So we all get second chance. Sometimes some people need third, fourth, fifth, sixth chance, but some people just wake up on the second chance itself, right? We should wake up on the very, when we get the second chance itself. So every day we have a choice. Every day I have a choice. Every day you have a choice. We have a choice to do the right thing. And it is up to us to do the right thing. It is for us to take that to our heart and do the right thing. And what is the right thing? Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals this to Arjuna in the 9th chapter. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi tadasi yat tapasyasi kanteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever activities you engage in, do that as an offering to me. So we engage in bhajana kriya. So from bhajana kriya, anartha nivriti happens. From anartha nivriti, we rise above, and nishtha develops. And then we have ruchi, then comes asakti, then comes bhav, and finally we attain liberation when we attain the love of Godhead. And even though we could be in this world, but we are not of this world, because we are spiritual being at that stage, having spiritual experience. So that is a very important aspect. So again, from Poshanam, which is protection, comes Uteha, the creative impetus. Why are we here? Now, Sutta Goswami in this chapter, he reveals that in this material world, even though it is external energy of the Lordship, the basis, the foundation is the living entity. We are the cause, right? How could we be the cause? Sometimes people argue. They become, agitated when they hear, how could we be the cause? It is the material energy. It is material energy that is bad. No, we are engaging in sense gratification. We are engaging in serving material energy. These senses that we have, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses, all these senses have been provided to us. How we engage our working senses to serve who is our choice. We decide, instead of serving Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa, we decide to serve the senses. And these senses, when we try to serve, and the sense objects are in a mode of ignorance. our senses in the mode of passion. So we are engaging ourselves, and that's where the fall down happens. And we are the ones who are cause. So once a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, after the Srimad Bhagavatam class, spoke that, why did Kṛṣṇa create this world? There's so much misery. Srila Prabhupada said, Kṛṣṇa didn't create this world miserable. We, the living entities, have made it miserable because of our, inclination to engage in sense gratification. Rather, and then we don't feel any satisfaction. Why? Because our senses are not satisfied. That's why Lord is also glorified by the name Govinda. Go has two meanings. First meaning is cow. Second meaning of go is senses. So Vinda means who gives pleasure to the senses. So he gives pleasure to the cows. We see from Vrindavan pastimes. He gives pleasure to the senses, but not by being our order supplier, but by being our master who we serve. We being the order supplier of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. We serve Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. When we engage in his service, we attain transcendental bliss. We get transcendental bliss. And so we develop spiritual strength. We develop the potency to engage. So let me quickly cover the 18 Purāṇas and these stages. So then changes of Manu, Manvantara. And then Eshanukatha, the science of God, his own, the 10th canto, appearance and his activities, his, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha taktva deham punarjanma neti mameti swajana. Lord Kṛṣṇa reveals to Arjuna that whoever understands my appearance and my pastimes, my divine pastime, divyam, tattvataha, in truth, does not take birth again in this material world, but attains my supreme abode, goes back home, back to Godhead. So we get to hear from those pastimes. And then that is the science of God. And Nirodho. So when we attain perfection, we go back home. Nirodha is to, attain that perfection, going back home, back to Godhead. And then that is our liberation, our true liberation. The fourth kind of annihilation we seek for in serving the Lordship. So we may be in this material world, but we are spiritually situated, having spiritual experience, developing this spiritual strength in serving the Lordship. So now let me quickly cover the 18 Purāṇas. These are Brahma Purāṇa, Padma Purāṇa, Vishnu Purāṇa, Shiva Purāṇa, Linga Purāṇa, Garud Purāṇa, Narad Purāṇa, Bhagavat Purāṇa, Agni Purāṇa, Skanda Purāṇa, Bhavishya Purāṇa, Brahma Vaivarta Purāṇa, Markandeya Purāṇa, Vamana Purāṇa, Varaha Purāṇa, Matsya Purāṇa, Kurma Purāṇa and Brahmanda Purāṇa. So these are the 18 Purāṇas. Now in the next few chapters, we will be seeing many short items or short stories that Sutta Goswami will be covering from Markandeya Purāṇa. So that is the coming attraction. So please, join me and we'll study those chapters. And there's amazing glories of the Lordship being covered, that has been covered in those chapters. So with this, we would like to end today's chapter. So again, most of this, the 18 Purāṇas, they talk about all 10 subject matters. However, the 18 minor Purāṇas, they talk about 5 subject matters among the 10 subject matters that we discussed today. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa.